Welcome to NOYC Godcast, where we offer wacky wisdom weekly from God's Word. Today, we are officially on the other side of camp, and so we are talking about life on target once again. What a week we had at camp, and behind-the-scene details, and a bunch more stuff, so stay tuned. Well, we have officially made it. We are officially on the other side of the 15th annual NOYC. Truth be told, this year of camp looked so different. In fact, in some ways, this year was almost unrecognizable. Even returning from camp, like I can't speak for everyone else, but I feel, yes, very tired still, but also like more invigorated and ready and just laser focused returning from camp than maybe ever before. Like usually around here, we're sluggish for a few months after camp, just recuperating, but like I'm ready to hit the ground running. I just think our theme this year, Life on Target, just really incentivized us to come back and live on purpose. And so this year of camp, like you guys chime in, this year of camp was by far the best year I think we have ever experienced, bar none. I shared with our home church last Sunday that this year was almost like impossibly smooth. Like it was beyond description. Like if you know what takes place behind the scenes and the obstacles and the difficulties that take place leading up to camp, then this was like supernaturally smooth. Like you just can't really describe it except for God, being in the works of everything. To quote the Lego movie, because we've not done that before. And I love that movie. To quote the Lego movie, like this year's camp, everything was awesome. And if you don't understand the reference, ask someone, well, that's probably an old movie by now.
Is it? Oh, not that old. She knows.
I'm just going to say, yes. Okay. It must not be that old. Now, there were relatively no problems at camp. There were our staff members were the bomb this year. Like, I don't know if we should say that now. They were really great. They were amazing. Our teams were on point, pun intended. There was basically no behavior problems. The weather was absolutely beautiful. It was just honestly, like I told our home church, if I were to dream up the perfect week of camp, it would have looked like this past week. And to top it all off, the best of all, God allowed us to see 40 souls profess salvation while at camp. And beyond that, like the altars were filled every service with adults and young people just surrendering to the Lord, doing business with the Lord, and getting serious about serving him. And so all of that to say, wow, what a week it was. Thoughts, comments?
Yeah.
Well, like, that's how I felt too. Like, everything went so smooth. Like, of course, I haven't been as involved in it as this year. Even last year, I wasn't even as involved as I was. But, like, all the things, me and Lucas have talked about this so much, all the things that I was worried that would happen with even the rules that we took on and things, like, God was like, slapped me across the face, like, why are you worrying about that? Because look, like, I'm prepared myself for something that I think is going to happen. And then God's like, nope, like, it's in my hands. Like, everything's going to go entirely fine and everything's going to be okay. Like, you have no reason to worry about anything because this is literally God's camp.
I don't know that we've ever had a year where not only did our worst fears not come true, but also the fears we didn't think to have didn't come true. Like it just was.
The bingo card did not happen.
It was amazing. I don't even know.
Well, like I said to you, I think it was Friday, Saturday. I don't know. It was
one of the
days that we sought the Lord, he heard and he answered. And then yet we were surprised. Yeah. And like, I mean, we always smother camp in prayer, but I feel like this year we just were really intentional about it.
Desperately.
Yes. And he did. He showed up and he was there in such a great way. And like, we've had years where we've had great staff.
Right.
And we've had years where we don't have a lot of like major issues, but like never at the same time.
Well, like I guess that way, like we've had good years. Like we were talking, I think it was brick by brick. Like there have been several. We've had really good years, but with those good years, there's like full blown attack and all of the like the bingo cards. Like just ask us about the bingo cards. Just crazy stuff. This year was just like everything was perfect. Like there was no problems. I don't know. It was so weird. And on top of that, God did amazing, crazy, amazing things. So today's episode is really just kind of a victory lap, if you will, like all in honor and glory for God. And so we just kind of want to celebrate and discuss our perspectives of camp and where we saw God working and moving. And then we want to kind of unpack the theme a little bit more as we wrap up the month of June this week and next week, right? Yes. Next week is still June.
Yeah, it's the last day.
So question for the table. What was the best part of camp for you this year? we didn't really go to camp. So I guess that's all you.
Well, really for me, it was the fact of getting to be so involved because it's something I've always wanted to do. But also, like, especially as being a counselor, team time was so amazing this year.
You know, I feel like we've heard that more and more the last 2 or 3 years.
It was constantly team time.
Kudos to our counselors. Like, that's all them. I'm so happy to hear that because, yeah, that's awesome.
Well, because, like, we had one girl that told us that she had gotten saved at camp, like, and that meant the world to me because, like, she was normally the quiet one who didn't really say anything. And, like, there was just a lot of things that just came of that. And even not just for the kids, but for me. And even thinking, too, because, like, this I feel like was the first year that I was really able to, like, actually almost like really be a part of team time. Like, I always would add things, but I was able to actually somewhat like be a part of the lesson in full. And that was a blessing to me because it not only touched the kids, but it made me think, because the things that I was saying to them, I was like, I really need to work on that myself. So for me, like, it was definitely team time because it took me out of my comfort zone, but it also like made such an impact.
I don't know. It's really hard to say the best part because, like,
That's the question.
I know, I see it. It's very large.
The best.
But, the preaching was amazing this year.
It really was.
For sure.
Like, all respect to our preachers. But years past, like, we've had a couple home runs, a couple not. Like, that's just preaching. That's just camp. This year was just like every night, like, they did. And, like, I would talk to the preachers after, and, like, it was amazing. Like, only God could do this. But, like, none of them really, like, stuck to their day's theme.
Yeah.
But, like, I would almost say, like, they were the perfect segue between the days, which, like, how do you even, like, only God could do that. It was really amazing.
Yeah. So I think that was amazing. And then, too, like, I don't know, just like the atmosphere of, like, God being there every day and, like, the lack of faith of, like, waiting for that thing to happen and it never happened.
Yeah.
I don't know, just God showing up in a great way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like, I guess that is one of my favorite things of camp, but, like, I couldn't say that was the best. Like, there's a lot of things I can say.
Yeah. She wants to steal your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where,
I heard you say and your answer was better.
So where did you see God at work at camp? You kind of already answered that a little bit, but maybe this is your chance to answer better this time. Or give another
Redeem yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
Another answer.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Like, literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Between, like, we had a few issues with games. Like, there were a few fights with different teams and things. But other than that, like, literally, I feel like normally it's always like a reoccurring thing. Almost every single team, there's at least like a couple people that have issues. Even the games, I feel like literally everything. When we say everything went smooth,
It really
like, I
did.
was just like, even aside from being involved like I am, like, even being on a team in years past, like, literally everything went entirely different than what it normally
Well, like,
does.
and even the games, like, if you were there last year, like, we had like 3 ambulances in an hour. And that was not even Thursday. Like, it was like, wow. Like, to the point that we had review forms and parents and staff members telling us, like, you have to cancel these games. You can't do this anymore. And as I stood back watching the Mestival and Kickball this year, like, we didn't have a single game-related injury. Now, someone fell out of their bed. But I can't help that.
There was one game-related injury.
What was that?
The girl that messed up her ankle.
That's true. Yeah. But that was actually not a dangerous game. That was a clumsy child. I don't know.
yeah,
Actually, no, I take that back. I
don't know if she
apologize.
was clumsy or she just, like, really went for it.
But that wasn't like, it wasn't our dangerous games.
Yeah.
Like, our dangerous games, even God was there. Like, everyone was safe in our dangerous games. I don't know. Like, maybe that means a little to everyone, but, like, that's impressive stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to, I mean, God obviously worked, but he worked in our staff.
Yeah.
Like, because I did hear there was a couple of spats with teams, but, like, that didn't come back to us as admin because, like, the counselors or the game staff or whoever took care of it. Yeah. And, like, I don't know. It was just.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Should have been there.
So where did you see God at work?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay. Well, the short answer. I was kind of taken back as we were dismissing Friday. It actually brought me to tears. You know, it's always emotional when we wrap up camp just because, like, we just pour so much into it and just see God do such amazing things and to see another year, another chapter conclude. But, like, I was really taken back watching, first off, CJ's video. No one, like, he gave it to me and I was like, I'll watch it with everyone else. Not big deal. I don't need to preview for that. I was a blubbering mess. Like, that video really, like, that rocked my socks off in a righteous way. Rocked my righteous socks out. No. Righteously rocked my socks. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's true.
He's currently wearing socks.
But so that was really powerful. Like, that was the best video I think he's ever done. But as I finished watching that and kind of stood there looking at everyone, I was really taken back at just how divinely God put put all the pieces together. And like, if you work behind the scenes, like, you know that every year, but like just seeing it, like I said, even with the messages, with the songs, with the way the staff were arranged, who was where, like everything, like it just was so divine. Like there's no other way to explain it. He just put everything together in spite of our cluelessness. Yeah. And so, yeah, he really was at work just everywhere.
Yeah. But I think in the way that he showed up, like you could tell that provision was being worked on long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like he provided for us in ways that we never knew we would need.
We've talked about it on the podcast before, but provision is, compound word, 2 words together, pro, before, and vision. And so there's so many things like, I mean, you guys both know this, but especially Rach, so many things like at the last second we would have something fall through or someone back out or something happen where we would have a great need and we're just like, what are we going to do? And it was like God already had in his pocket the answer was there. And so we're like, I don't know. And then it was just perfect. Like, it was just incredible how he was prepared. He had provision through the whole thing. Like, it was just truly remarkable. So what was your favorite truth that we taught or learned at camp this year?
Something, I guess, probably the thing that sticks out to me, like not the most, but like one of the things, I think you said it during the devotion class, was there's a difference between sin and sins. I just never heard it that way. Yeah. Like I knew that, but hearing that, like, you living in sin is completely apart from God, but as Christians we're gonna sin, and like I know that, but to hear that and have that like assurance of, okay, like, yes, as a Christian I am going to sin, I sin daily against God, but as long as I'm not living in sin, like I am serving Christ, I'm living for him, I'm having that I can't even think of the word. I feel bad for what I do.
Yeah. I had it and I was listening to it and I lost it.
Bring it back.
Go ahead and mumble something.
Order sloppy Joe. Yeah. So the theme this year and the truths that we learned, we did that, and I don't know what else to say about that. Are you done yet? You know,
you're entertaining me.
I do think the theme this year, again.
Oh, I remember.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
Stop mumbling. The difference in God being our top priority and him being the priority.
Yeah. I think that was probably one that smacked me upside the head the worst, was that God doesn't want to be a priority of priorities. He wants to be it, like through him all things. And yeah, I feel like this year's theme, like I said, just so God saturated. I have a hand, I help write the lessons. I have a hand, I actually have 2. But besides that, I write.
You actually type.
It's true. No, I'm not going there. No, resist. So I get to know, obviously what the lessons are going to be before we get to camp. And so it was so God ordained the way the lessons came together. Like I really can't even put that into words. Just so many, like, we had a rough outline of what we want to talk about, and then I like sit down, excuse me, to put pen to paper, finger to keyboard, and start writing them. And like, I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's so daunting. It's so overwhelming. Like, what do we say? Like it's such a unique opportunity to get to pour into everyone's lives and to get to speak truth to so many people who, especially the kids, like, you just don't, they're either not hearing truth or they're hearing lies. Like, they're just surrounded by falsehood. And so to have that opportunity, like, I don't take that lightly. But it was just so God ordained, like, just the things, only me and God will know, but just the ways that, like, I would be writing this, I would literally scrap the whole thing like 6 or 8 times. And then, like, I would just wake up in the middle of the night and just be like, that's the lesson. Like, just constantly, God was just constantly speaking and showing and pointing and directing. Like, I think in the 15 years, I mean, we haven't been writing the lessons for 15 years, but in the years we've been writing lessons, this year was more God intervention, like God, like, typing it out than ever before. And I don't want to go back. But I kind of heard that at camp too, like, even since leaving camp, I've heard so many people just, they got it this year. Mm-hmm. Like, I think maybe I'm a little biased, but I think we've talked about some pretty amazing things over the last 15 years, some pretty great lessons, great themes. But I feel like this year more than ever before, I just heard people say, I get it. Like, it was clear. I understood. I want to do that. I believe that.
Even on the review forums, reading them the other day, like, I don't remember what the question was, but like, they would, like, it wasn't that they just said, oh, I'm going to live a life on target, like the generic answer, but like, they actually said what we wanted them to say. Yeah. Like, it seems like they got it.
Yeah. Which is, again, just testimony to God, because we can't make them get it. We don't even get it, but he got it. So kind of segueing into the next question, what impact did you see Life on Target having at camp or even after camp? Like, your own life or the lives of your families or people you have watched at camp or since camp, like, what impact did this theme have?
Well, I mean, even on myself, realizing that, like you said, like it's not just giving God your all, but entirely, I can't remember the exact wording you used, but like you can say you give God your all, but really do you give him your all kind of thing. And like not just not just the few things in your life, but like literally laundry, everything, like your whole existence, everything you do throughout the day, giving it to God. And that's something that I'm still working on. Like I will always have to work on, but truthfully giving God my all. But aside from that, which team time has always been one of my favorites because you see, like that's your one-on-one time with the kids, and just seeing, like you said, how much the kids got it this year. And like even the kids that like literally I would have never thought would answer raised that. Like I'm literally getting goosebumps right now because it was like I wanted to cry in the middle of team time because I'm like, God, I don't think they're getting it, but you're helping them get it. And like it was just amazing to see, even just like the kids that like were having issues and stuff, how even just throughout like the first couple days, God was changing them. And they were like, I probably shouldn't do that now because they were hearing what they needed to hear.
I kind of felt that way in devotion class. Like outwardly I was talking, but inwardly I was banging my head against the concrete because I'm just like, they're just not getting it. Like, I don't know how to say this any more clear. But then it was very evident, just like you said, like as you watched them interact with one another in the lunch line, in the games, you know, the review forms, just talking with them, they did get it. Like it did not appear to be the case, but they did get it. They got it. And that's something only God can do. Like, I guess what I would say is they didn't get it in their head this time. It was actually in their heart. Like they got it because their heads didn't look like it, but their hearts apparently came from the inside.
Yes.
Okay. So favorite memory from camp? Any favorite memories to share? Favorite moment?
I'm sure there were some good ones. I'm still too tired to remember them all.
She's still loading the last answer.
I am.
Man.
I will say, it's maybe not my favorite, but the satisfying moment of the first kid cracking the egg over their head.
Yes.
That just, like, I felt
the Mestival. The Mestival was magical this year. It was a magical Mestival. It was a Brextival. But that doesn't start with an M.
I bet you can make it.
This is natural. I promise you. It's fine. No, I would agree with that. Being there for that first period to just see it in reality. Because, like, someone asked you, like, oh, so you guys tested this before? You know, it's like, we're like, no, you're here with us. This is the test run. You guys are the guinea pigs. But yeah, that was a magical moment. It was satisfying to see it. And it worked. Like, there was no, like, Mestival historically has had things that just
people
didn't.
Think it was dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it just didn't work. Like, things would stop or we'd have to change it up. And, like, besides the toast being too heavy and the spatula being not, like, too heavy with the toast on it. Like, it just was beautiful. That was a good memory. Every year I will say this as long as we do it, but bad poetry reading with Chuck is one of my favorite things and moments. And it's so, like, at first I was so disappointed so few people got to enjoy that, but then it was just special to me because it was like Chuck was reading those poems to me and it just was a magical moment. It brought joy to my soul and it was there's just nothing like that. Like, that man was made for bad poetry and that's all I know. Favorite memory?
There's so many, but probably the Mestival too. Especially getting to watch the kids do it. I wanted to do it. In my defense, I did want to do it, but I was like, I have a bad knee and I don't want to end up being the first person that has to go to the hospital.
Just for our benefit.
But just getting to see the kids, like, that was just, I don't know, that was a lot of fun. But really, everything. Like, I don't think I could pick, like, one thing that was my favorite.
It was just a good year. So, back to Life on Target. So we obviously previewed the theme before we got to camp on the Godcast. But like I said, this week, next week, we want to kind of just pull on some loose strings that we didn't really dive into too much. And so one of the things I want to talk about, as we concluded on Thursday, we talked about the aligning with the Almighty. Really, the lesson that everyone got was first things first. That's really what the key phrase was there that we all learned. And so I think, like, all of us shared before camp and at camp, that was the lesson that was probably the most challenging and most impactful in our own lives of the four. I think that no matter how long you've been saved or no matter where you're at in your walk with the Lord, I think that we all need to be reminded and encouraged to seek God first in our lives or firster in our lives. And so one of the things that we talked about all week, and especially on Thursday, was the fact that all things in existence revolve around God. Like he is the bullseye of our existence. He's the aim of all things. So our theme verse for Thursday was Romans 11:36, which says, "For of him and through him and to him are all things, to whom be glory forever." I tacked on a few additional resources of verses that say basically the same thing. Colossians 1:16 through 17 says, "For in him all things were created, these things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things are held together." 1 Corinthians 8:6 says, "Yet for us there is but one God, the Father, and whom all things came, and for whom we exist. And there is but one God, Jesus Christ, through whom all things came, and through whom we exist." First Corinthians 15:28 says, "And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son of also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that God may be all in all." Hebrews 2:10 says, "In bringing many sons to glory, it was fitting for God, for whom through whom all things exist, to make the author of their salvation perfect through suffering." On and on we could go. Like that's a very, very short list of verses, but the scriptures are chocked full of verses that remind us God is the main point. He is the bullseye of our being. It's all about him. Everything, everyone, everywhere, at all times, in all places, everything without exception is from, for, by, and to God. He's quite literally the aim of all. He's the bullseye of all that we believe. And yet, as we talked Thursday, we miss him all the time, even intentionally sometimes in our life. So on Monday of camp, we started with that video that showed all of those moving targets. And we had volunteers come up and we told them to aim for the right target and they get 1,000 points. In reality, that's how a lot of us live our lives. Even though we were made to aim for God, we get so distracted that our aim gets off. And so I heard a preacher say this week that distractions will send more people to hell than disobedience ever will. You think about that, because we spend our lives, we spend youth camp telling, people to obey God, don't disobey God, be careful. And yet all the while we're living just so distracted ourselves. Distractions will send more people to hell than disobedience ever will. And so what we a lot of times fail to realize is that even good things can distract us. And that's kind of what we talked about a little bit on Monday. But remember that scene, I know me and you have talked about it many times on the Godcast, but that scene where Jesus comes to visit Mary and Martha. So here's Jesus, right? He's the Christ. He's the Messiah. He's God in flesh. He is sitting in their living room. I assume it's the living room. He's sitting in their house. I assume it's a house. Anyways, the main point of literally everything was right in front of them, and yet Martha gets distracted in serving Jesus instead of sitting with Jesus. She missed the mark. And Jesus says to Martha, "Martha, Martha." Whenever Jesus says your name twice, it can't mean anything good. "Martha, Martha, you've been busy doing many good things, and yet you're missing the best thing." And that's how most of us live our lives. Like we can be busy serving, we can be busy ministering, we can be busy doing churchy things, we can be busy with our families, we can be busy with careers or hobbies or sports, we can be busy with finances or academics. We can be busy doing good things, things that God even tells us to do. But if we're not first seeking his kingdom, it's all for naught. And so imagine spending your entire life training to climb Mount Everest. I would love to do that someday. I probably will never get to, but I would love to. I can't breathe and I'm afraid of heights, so I'm sure it won't go wrong at all. But regardless. So imagine you've trained your whole life to climb Mount Everest, and you endure the training and the endurance and the climbing training and the intense physical requirements. You spend some $10,000, which it costs to climb Mount Everest, for this great adventure. You gather your team, you gather all the gear, you've put in all the time, all the effort, and the day finally arrives to make the great climb. Only as you stand at the base of the mountain, it's so massive, it's so large, it's so overwhelming, and now so close that you can't even see it. You miss the very thing that everything has been leading up to. All things have been leading up to this ascension to this mountain, and yet now at its base, you can't see what all things have been about. That's sort of how most of us live our lives. We were created for God. He's the main point. He's the main attraction. He's the bullseye of our belief, and yet he's so massive, he's so large, he's so overwhelming, he's so majestic, so awesome, that at times he's so intimidating that although he's right there in front of us and he's right here with us and he's accessible, we miss him. All of our makeup, our salvation, our Bible, our knowledge, our investment in the kingdom, all of it is a waste unless we are intentional in seeking him first, making him the aim of our lives. And I hope that's what we got from camp. It was funny. I remember teaching Thursday and we were on stage. I don't remember it must have been the first class. I don't know. We were doing one of those. And like, I wrote the lessons. I'd read the lessons over and over and over and over, made the books. Like, I just feel like I just about have it memorized. And it was like, and I don't know if I went off script or if it was in the books, but I said something along the lines of God is the biggest bullseye ever. Like he's the size of all things. He's the bullseye. And like something in me just like, I was like, wow, like literally he's the bullseye. And yet I'm throwing my life over here and missing him completely. And like, that's what we all do. We get so distracted that we miss the very main point of it all. And so that's just, again, some questions for you guys. In what ways have you missed seeking God first? Like, how have you got distracted from the main point of life?
Oh, for us or for them?
For you guys. Yeah. They can't answer me right now.
Oh, I thought
or they can. I just will never hear them. We need like a live phone.
We went live once.
Yeah. Look how badly that went. I don't actually remember. Anyone?
Well, like I feel like the first two kind of.
Don't read the second one. We're not there yet.
Sorry. So I think that for me, I feel like it's more of the second one.
Okay.
Well, you're just gonna pretend that it goes with the first one.
That's fine.
For me, like it's easy to miss the mark on things that God gave me. So like in motherhood or in ministry or whatever, like you're so focused on one aspect of it, or even just doing it in yourself. Like if I'm trying to be a good mom or a good wife in myself, or if I'm trying to do the ministry in myself. Like, if it's anything of me, then I completely miss the mark, even though they're godly things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of that somewhat for me, too. Like with my marriage, with, like, the house and everything, wanting to do it all myself, feeling overwhelmed about things, but not giving it to God. Because, like, I feel like, not that, like, I wouldn't say I can do it, but, you know, you don't say it, but you're thinking it kind of, and, you know, really putting all that in God's hands. But even aside from that, but like not truthfully living your life for Christ, but even just in my day to day, like not that I'm just go to church on Sunday and not live for Christ the rest of the week, but even just in the little things that like really aren't just little things. Like I said, like laundry, all that stuff, but getting so overwhelmed by everything that I need to do instead of saying, okay, God, like I need to have a schedule and I need to treat every day like it could be my last day. Mm-hmm. Because like I there's people that I need to show Christ. There's like I need to grow myself and not really giving God my all, I guess, in that.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I've noticed, and even since returning to camp, but before camp too, I'm very much a type A personality. So like I live literally to the minute knowing like I have to do X, Y, Z.
That's so surprising.
I know it's a sickness. So one of the things that I've learned, like whenever I'm in that much control, he's not. Mm-hmm. So being willing to be flexible, if for no other reason than to remind myself he's in control. So like even before camp, there were a few days there where we were in crunch mode. We had only so many hours left on the clock to get everything done. And like, God made it clear, like, no, you're going to do this instead. And I did. And we got everything done. Mm-hmm. Returning from camp yesterday, I had a day planned. I had very much a stringent schedule for myself to keep of things that we needed to accomplish. And like that was blown out of the water. I got up and started reading and stuff. And that took about double the time it usually does. I was like, okay, God, that's all cool. Like, and then I got a phone call and that changed the rest of my day. And I was like, all right, Lord, like I just lay my life, my agenda before you. And so like, that's for me personally, but I would say that's for all of us. Like, what is it you're not laying out before him? Because whatever you're not laying out and say, all right, God, you are completely in your rights. You are completely able. And I allow you to do whatever you want, change, adapt, throw out the window, completely start over. Like it's in your hands. And so that's really what it means for him to be first, like to be first above all, like in everything we do it through him. And so, yeah, schedule, agenda, that is something that, I mean, and even at camp, like I remember, the one day we got behind schedule a bit is because it was Wednesday because we had borrowed the security staff to work on Kittyville Kickball. And then I just kind of like, shoot, we took all the security staff. No one's blowing the siren because we were all busy. And so we got behind schedule. And like, even that, like I chuckled, but like that would historically be something that would stress me out. And like, I just struggled. I'm like, Lord, like, this is your schedule. If we're a day behind, like, we'll just stay extra. Like, I don't care. Like, and like, that sounds so goofy. And it is. But it's also so freeing, like to be able to do all things through him, like recognize that he can do more with his schedule than we ever could with the schedule we think we're controlling.
And it's taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're like, oh, well, let's hope it works out. Like, you know that it will.
Yeah.
Or what's important will anyway.
So kind of as a follow-up, how have you been intentional, or what changes have you made to make sure you're seeking him first? I think we all have a tendency to seek him lesser. Like, I think that's the natural tendency of all of us, is that things distract us, things overcrowd, and he begins to like slightly become less and less firster. Mm-hmm. If any of those languages are making sense to you. So what can you do to safeguard your life to make sure he remains first?
I know for me, like, so I thought whatever you just said earlier reminded me of before camp. Like, so we would set a time to be here to work on camp stuff, and I was always late almost every single day. But it was because I wouldn't get up when I was supposed to, or the kids were crazy or whatever. And I was like, well, if I just skipped praying a little bit, or if I just read a little less today, or didn't read at all, like I could get there on time. Mm-hmm. And God would be like, but like, what's the point in that?
Yeah. Exactly,
and so like,
right.
even now, like it's easy to put those things like, well, like I have a lot to do. Like I'll get to that later. But when I put that first, no matter what, and I get that in, it all works out in the end. So I feel like being more intentional of making sure not to just be like, okay, I did it, but like slowing down and actually being there in that time.
Well, sleep is an issue for me. I'm not a morning person at all. Like Lucas is normally like, are you grumpy? And I'm like, no, it's just the morning. So like, really, when you said that during the devotion class about the whole, like, I didn't wake up early enough today, now everything's falling, like, to the wayside, I didn't read my Bible, I didn't this, and that's the point that I'm at now, and I'm really, like I was doing good, and then now I feel like I'm really struggling again, because it's easy after camp to be like, oh, I'll just sleep in a little bit longer. And I so I have not been doing good this week. Like that's hard for me to admit, but I haven't been. I need prayer for that. But trying to like actually wake up earlier, and that sounds stupid to some people, like something small and minuscule, but like really, I think that is something big that is holding me back from really my full potential for Christ. Yeah. Because like I've always struggled with that. Like I am just like I could stay up until 2:00 in the morning, but if you ask me to wake up at 6:00 in the morning, like it's like, are you kidding me? So like that's something really that I have been trying to work on. But also
so was a nudge from God when we asked you to do the coffee shop.
Yeah. When you texted me and said, or no, when you said like, are you a morning person? I can't remember if you texted me or not. I'm like, who are you asking? But I had to wake up every morning and say, God, please help me not be grumpy this morning. But like aside from that, even like I've pretty much deleted all social media. Like if I need it, because like I said before when we talked about it, like I need it for like my business and stuff like that, I'll just re-download it and then delete it when I'm done. Because like you wake up early and then like I read my Bible and then I get on Facebook and then it's like, why did I even get up early? So that's something, those are the things I'm trying to work on.
I think there's something to be said for, like we've talked about it before, but there's something to be said about giving God the first fruits. So that's an Old Testament principle. Israel was called to give their first fruits of their labor. So the first of their produce, the first of their livestock, the first of everything went to God, and then he blessed the rest. And so it's like, we kind of get the concept of tithing from that. But there's something to be said for our day. Like I think that there are people who they're more human at the end of the day than they are at the beginning of the day. And so like they, maybe read or pray then. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think there's a precedence in the Bible for giving God the first of your day and putting in the effort. And I just like Emma, I feel like God will bless your efforts in doing that. I'm naturally a morning person, so it's not much of a struggle. But there is the tendency in getting up early and getting distracted by all the things I need to get done and trying to cut corners with God. And so there's something God blesses about seeking him first with our time, with our relationships, with our money, with our future, with everything. There's something to be said about giving God the first that he can bless the rest. If you give God, the end, then there's nothing after that for him to bless. And so I think too, kind of like you said, I kind of get sick of myself. I'm always sick of myself. But he's just here.
We'll leave you alone.
But we fool ourselves into thinking that this is just how it has to be. That is such a lie from the enemy. Always. Just like social media. Like, I think social media is probably one of the biggest and easiest distractions in life to keep us from seeking God first. And yet there are ways you can delete the app. You can set screen time limits. You can have an accountability. Like, there are options if you are serious about seeking God first. One of the most convicting things I think we talked about on Thursday was the fact that Jesus says, those who seek will find. Mm-hmm. There's no excuse. If you're not finding him, it's because you're not trying. Those who seek will find him. And so, whatever it is, whatever excuse your flesh has convinced you of, you are able to seek him first. And if you do, you will find him. And so if you're not finding him, it's because you're not trying. Well, as promised at camp, we are going to spend probably the next couple months, I'd say, every episode. We will be answering a question from camp. And so these are questions that you guys submitted at camp about the theme, things you heard. And so we're going to just kind of unpack those a little bit and answer those. And so the first question that we have here is, we don't know who it's from. None of them have names, but hopefully this person knows their answer is being given. So this question says, even though Jesus was starving and Satan tried to trick him, how did God know he was the one? Why does Satan try to get in our way? Anybody want to take a stab?
I bet you have an amazing answer.
I wouldn't say amazing, but I do have something to say. Thoughts? There's no wrong. There are wrong answers. There's definitely wrong answers, but it's like my daughter. Do you know what happens if you drive the wrong way down a one-way street? You get attacked by a bear. That is a wrong answer. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. No thoughts? Nothing? Go for it. Go for it.
Well, I mean, the first question, I would just answer as because it's Jesus, and he could recognize that was Satan, because he is. There's the whole Trinity thing, and he is of God. Mm-hmm. But also, like, the second question, because Satan doesn't want us to have anything to do with Christ. Mm-hmm. If you're living a life for Christ in any way, like it's the saying of, you should be scared if Satan isn't trying to get in your way. Because if Satan isn't trying to get in your way, then you must not be seeking Christ at all. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't want us to have an abundant life or a fulfilling life or a happy life. He wants us to be miserable. He may make us think that the things that he's showing us, like, are great things, but like, sin is only good for, like, happy, like, joyful for a season. And so he's just trying to get in your way, so you never make it to heaven. Like, he doesn't want that.
Yeah.
He wants you to be with him.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. So you read these already.
I don't remember that one.
That was one. I think it was the first one.
Oh.
So
I didn't quite understand it.
Yeah, I could be misunderstanding the question, but what I take it as is, even though Jesus was starving and Satan tried to trick him, how did God know he was the one? So how did God know Jesus was the one? Like, that's how I read it. And they even capitalized one. Yeah. So let's hypothetically say that's what they're talking about. Okay. Just like I wrote this. Okay, if that's how you want to interpret it. So it goes back to our lesson on Monday. We talked about the meaning of the mark. And then we talked about the match of the mark, and how God from the very beginning has literally, since Genesis 3, has been saying, I'm sending a solution. And then he starts detailing what that solution will look like, what that will be. And then Jesus shows up on the scene in Bethlehem, and Jesus matches that very mark that God has been talking about the whole time. For example, he was born in Bethlehem, but then he had to go to Egypt, and he would ride on a foal of a donkey, and he would not have a bone in his body broken. On 300 plus prophecies, 300 marks that Jesus had to match in order to be the Messiah. And that's how God could put his approval upon the life of Jesus. Now, obviously, we know, theologically speaking, God sent Jesus, so he knew who he was sending. And kind of to Emma's point of the Trinity being involved in the sending of Jesus. But that's how, like, even upon earth, God knew Jesus was the one, because Jesus matched that mark. How do we, maybe a better or more important question we could ask is, how do we know Jesus is the one? God knows all things. And so we shouldn't so much be worried about what God knows, because we can't comprehend what God knows, because God knows all things. But we have to make sure we know that Jesus is the one. He's that sent solution. So how do we know? Well, he matched that prophecy perfectly. 300 plus prophecies that were told before he was ever born, and Jesus matched them with precision. But then beyond that, Jesus lived perfectly. No man can live the life that Jesus lived. And so that's how we know Jesus was that sent solution that God had been foretelling from the very beginning. And so if that wasn't what you meant, write us again and we'll fix it. But that's, I guess, how I'm reading it. So secondly, why does Satan try to get in our way? Do you have an answer for that one?
Good.
No, we've both taken a turn. It's your turn.
Like what you did.
So I would say that, so if you know your Bible, Satan was originally an angel in heaven, and he fell. And the reason he fell was what?
He was trying to be above God.
Yeah, it was pride. He was trying to be equal to God. In other words, he was trying to take away the attention, the focus, the allness that God deserved. So why does Satan try to stop us? Well, what we learned at camp is that all of us comes down to all of him. God created us with an intent of allness. Our lives are supposed to be for God in all ways. He's the bullseye of all things. So why does Satan get in our way? The same reason he fell out of heaven. He's trying to distract us from that allness. He's trying to get in the way of us putting all of our attention on God. And so anything that he tempts us with, anything he allures us with, anything he tries to distract us with, all of it is the intent of, you can't make God your all. You can't live as he created you for. And that's exactly what we see in the garden, right? That's why he comes to Adam and Eve and he tries to, again, you can be like God. You don't need God. We can cut God out of this thing and you can have everything that you have now with God without God. He's trying to distract them from the very intent God created them for. And so that's why Satan does what he does. And that's how he gets in our way. And that's why he gets in our way. So,
yep.
Okay. She's like, I'm going to have to write a better question next time. So I didn't add anything after this, apparently. Okay, I guess we'll wrap up there. I didn't do quotes or nothing. So tune in next week. We will be wrapping up our debrief of camp, behind the scenes look, life on target. And then we'll, again, be answering your questions next week. But thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you do have questions since leaving camp, you can still write us. Mm-hmm. We are still answering your questions. We will always answer your questions. We love questions. She may not, but we love questions. And so write them. But yeah, till next time, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye. I can't live this life. I can't go and do. There's no way I can live the life that they have talked about. I could never be good enough. See, the devil thought he had me right where he wanted me, but what he didn't know is that Jesus had me right where he wanted me.